Hello, thank you for being here. Today we'll be talking about this point and shoot, the Contax T2, the camera that Kendall Jenner fucked up for everyone else who couldn't afford it. I wanted to buy this camera when I was in college, but for obvious reason, I couldn't afford it. And now that I have a job and I'm an adult, I realized that having access to adult money is a terrible thing because I still spend money on films and cameras. But let's save that conversation for my therapist and let's have a conversation about the Contax T2. Contax T2 is a point and shoot camera with a 35mm lens with an f2.8 aperture. The best thing about this camera is probably the lens itself. It's a Carl Zeiss lens. The pictures are very sharp. I took this camera with me to a trip to Bangladesh, and that is not the only camera I took with me. I also took a medium format camera, the Contax 645N, and I took a Super 8 and a Super 16 camera, but it is very convenient to carry with you. You can put it in your pocket and go anywhere. You can go into a crowded place and pull it out and take your pictures, put it back. You don't have to worry about stuff such as fixing the focus, fixing the ISO, because it does have autofocus. And frankly speaking, I would say 70 to 80% of the time the picture will come out really great. Now let's look at the pictures I took in Bangladesh. So I recently flew from Washington DC to Dhaka in Bangladesh, and in the middle I was stuck in Jeddah for 10 hours. And in Jeddah there's this city which is very vintage, and all the buildings are still 200 to 300 years old. I probably made that up. The buildings are not that old, but they're pretty old. And I thought it would be an amazing opportunity to shoot with the Contax T2. Let's take a look at some of those photos. If you look at this house, you can tell that someone did not live in this house for a long time. As you're looking at this picture and enjoying this amazing building that is being torn apart by Mother Nature and time, I want you to focus on the corners. There's a very subtle vignetting, and that takes place because of the focal length. You see, the bigger the focal length is, the less vignetting a picture will have. Now let's take a moment to stop talking about film and go to digital. If you have a digital sensor and you have a fisheye lens, the lens will struggle to take all the lights and spread it throughout the whole sensor. Just like that, the lens in this camera will also struggle a little bit to take all the lights in and spread it throughout the sensor or the film in this picture. And I took pictures with my medium format with a 85mm lens, and there was no vignetting at all whatsoever because the focal length is so big, the lens covers the whole film. And please, if everyone out here thinks I'm wrong, feel free to fight me in the comment. This picture was decent. I really like this part of this neighborhood. I don't think I framed it right because I took the same picture with my iPhone 7 Plus and it came out really amazing. I'm not really so much satisfied with this one, but it's not that bad. I really love this picture. This cat wasn't looking at me. I was trying very hard to have the cat look at me, but he just refused. This is a self-portrait I took in the plane's bathroom. I really don't think I could have focused it right, but one best thing about film is you can scan them. And all the pictures that I'm showing you guys are drum scanned and they're humongous files, but I can take them to the print shop and make a really decent sized print with it without the fear of the picture collapsing or looking like shit basically. If you look at this picture, you definitely see the vignetting. I was just experimenting with the pushing and pulling of the film, and I think I have maybe underexposed it by 0.5. Time in Bangladesh was very interesting. I took a lot of interesting photos, but This is the one I probably hate the most. You see, oftentimes you look through the viewfinder and you are most certain that you're getting the angle that you want, but that is not the case. That is not the case. You have to be very, very mindful. There's this famous market in Old Dhaka that people goes to buy iftars, and the time like right before iftar, which is like almost time for sunset, is the perfect time to go there to take some photos. I really, really love this photo, but I hate how overblown this picture came out. I I did overexpose it a little bit. I pushed my film by I think at least 1 or 1.5. I have to start taking notes. That is something else that just popped into my head. Once I take pictures, I should start taking notes. While you live and learn. This picture came out really nice. I love how everybody's doing their thing. I really appreciate when people are not looking at the camera, and I definitely appreciate some movement. And there's a lot of movement going on. This guy in the corner, he's kind of blurred. I love that. I love pictures where I have something that is showing motion. This dude is looking at the camera. When I take pictures with film, I try my best to create a feeling of time travel. So the person who's looking at the picture can tell if the picture was taken in 2022 or 10 years back or 30 years back. And I try my best not to take photos where people have a phone or like stuff that shows newer technology. But as you can see, oftentimes humans are very unpredictable. Like I remember like literally the moment before I was taking this picture, I was like, okay, nobody's here on their phone. And as soon as I click, this guy just pulled out his phone. So I think that kind of ruined the picture. But I love how everybody is balanced here. I think the composition is amazing here. This picture has some motion blur, which I really like, but it is definitely a little bit overexposed. I'm probably not gonna print this. Yeah, you can tell I definitely pushed the film by at least 1.5 here. Everything is humongously bright. It's a shame that this picture came out blurry because I really, really love this wall with all the vines. If we zoom out, this is how it looks. I really love this picture, and this was probably my first photo in the Bangladesh roll that came out decent. You see, Dhaka is a really, really crowded place, so whenever I go there, I try to go there like 2 or 3 days before a major holiday, like the Eid for that matter. So people that are in Dhaka often goes to the village or outside of Dhaka to spend the holiday with their family. This is an amazing, amazing picture because I will show you this same place later on and you'll see how crowded this place gets. I don't think I would personally ever get a picture in Dhaka that shows the street without people. Happy birthday, Ayad. Ayad, if you're watching this video, happy birthday. I wish I took this picture in a lower f-stop because I really love this photo. I still love this photo, I'm not gonna lie. I think this looks amazing. But I kinda wish the picture was much flatter and the man wasn't all blurred out. He's a rickshaw puller. I think if I printed, I would be satisfied with this print, regardless of the blurriness. But I enjoy this photo. I enjoy the fact that the subject in the picture is not in focus and the background is, but I kinda sorta wish I took another photo at f4. I love this street food stalls. This guy's making this food called fuchka. It tastes really, really great. They put like chickpeas and they mix it up with spice and tamarind sauce and they put it in this circular thing you see. It tastes amazing. I think if anybody ever goes to Bangladesh and they don't eat street food because they're afraid of getting sick, they're missing out. They're missing out the whole point of going to a country like Bangladesh. I love the graffitis in Bangladesh street. These are not more of a graffiti, these are done by people in political party, but people definitely have a deep understanding of color scheme, which I really appreciate. I love this photo. I love the photo because of the composition itself. I think this is the first proper picture I took in Bangladesh with a foreground, midground, and a background. I think I started underexposing the pictures and I forgot to reset it, and all the pictures kinda came out underexposed. But you can tell the vignetting is like fucking terrible. Like, I can't stand vignetting at all for some reason. And this picture had so much potential. You can see the greens in the back is so green and so detailed, and the rickshaw pullers, and there's this one car, and there's this guy on the side sitting down. This is probably one of the pictures you'll take a look at and be like, hey, I'll put it on my wall. But once you zoom in, you'll see all the garbage that are all over the floor, and be like, probably not on my kitchen. This is probably one of the photos that I took where the color came out like perfect. I have no complaint. I do wish I took this picture from a different angle, but if I rescan it and zoom in a little bit, I think all the mistakes can be forgiven. The vignetting, the angles, all of this can be overlooked. But even if I didn't do that, I'll still be satisfied with this picture. I love this photo. The composition actually came out the way I want it to be. And the one thing that's really bothering me is the focus is not on this guy's face, and the focus is on the bag. This kid, I'll tell you a funny story about this kid. He was like, Bhaiya, subscribe to my YouTube channel, subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I'm like, okay, I subscribe to yours, now you subscribe to mine. And he's like, oh, I'll do it later. He never subscribed. I like this photo. So, in my grandparents' house, all the buildings that they had is like broken down and they're all modernized. Like, except this one, it still looks vintage and it looks really beautiful. I really like the way this picture looks. I kinda sorta wish this red string wasn't there. I got a really good sense of landscapes in Bangladesh. I think all the landscapes I took with this Contax T2 was on focus, but whenever I was taking pictures of people, I was in a rush, so I couldn't give the camera 2 extra seconds to lock in the focus, and that kind of fucked up a lot of my photos. I took this photo on a funeral event. There's a man who passed away and all these people gathered together to pay respect to the dead, and yeah, I found it very beautiful. So I framed this picture using the viewfinder in certain way that the guy with the taxi will not be in there, but after I printed out the photo, he was most certainly in there. This is my favorite photo of all time. Out of all the pictures I ever took in my life, I think this is one of them. This kid was very shy. He didn't want to show his face, but he was so curious to see what I'm doing, and he just picked his head out for 1 second and bang, I got it. I think on my deathbed when I'm dying, this would be one of the photos that I'll be thinking about. I like this photo, but I hated something about this setting. It was a market underground, so there wasn't much of a light. So I hate using the camera flash. I always hate using flash. I hate photoshopping stuff because I think that takes away from the originality of a photo. But I kind of had no other choice but to use the camera flash, and it kind of looks nice, but I think with some natural light this picture would have looked amazing. This is also one of my favorite photos. So every day in the morning, what Hindu people does is they pray to their gods, and the statue that they have in their house, they give some flowers to the statue. And in this picture, she's picking some flowers to give to the statue. And the moment I took this photo, they were calling for prayers in the background for the holiday that was happening that day, which is something I found really, really beautiful. I love this photo. I took this picture from a rickshaw, and the rickshaw puller was in a shadow area, which creates an amazing contrast in this picture between the light and the shadow. But I also wished I took this photo when the man was out of the shadow. But nonetheless, this picture came out amazing, and this guy have an amazing sense of color combination. His hat and his shirt is perfect color combination I seen throughout my whole trip in Bangladesh. And I kind of sort of wished he had an Instagram and he was a fashion influencer. That's how impressed I was with his sense of fashion. This photo is something I also love. I think this picture is probably one of the perfect photos that I took. The vignetting is not too harsh. There's movement in the photo. I also like things that are going the opposite direction. I think this picture is something I would actually print and hang it on my wall. This is a really, really nice photo. And this was the first 2.5 rolls of my trip from Bangladesh. I took about 15 to 17 rolls of films in Bangladesh, and the pictures that I just shared with you guys were from the first 2 rolls that I shot in Bangladesh. I am planning to turn it into an ongoing series where we can sit together, go through this picture and talk about the things I like about them and things I don't like about them, and learn from my own mistakes. And please feel free to share your thoughts about these photos, and if you are interested in buying any of those prints, reach out to me. But for today, thank you so much for being here. I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.